Watcher is a pickups video. It's great. Adjust mic. Pickups video. Um, it's Sunday, and I've got a little window. I think I have. And, the kid next door isn't around, so I'm going to have to be quick because I could come back any moment, and which in itself adds a bit of jeopardy. Should make things a bit more on edge, maybe more interesting. But yeah, shitloads of stuff to show. Hopefully, shouldn't take too long. You know, famous last words. I was gonna do a tag response from James's Time Warp of Tat Retro. I can't remember. Something like that. He tagged me. It was 10 gaming memories, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. It's just I don't want to do it sitting here. I want to sort of take my GoPro out and go for a walk, but it's I've got a route I want to go, but the weather's really shit at the moment. Like it was. It's getting better now, but this sounds like excuses. That's not an excuse. I have to take my GoPro out, and I always feel like I have to work up to that. But no, I've got a good route. It'll be muddy. It's like it's through like a park near here, but it shouldn't be too many. That's the thing. I want to take my camera out, but I don't want too many people around. And I think that's the best route. It should be quite good. I'm really looking forward to doing it because I've had my answers for ages. And when I saw his tag response, I formulated mine in my head straight away. And it's one I'm really looking forward to. It's just pure nostalgia, or sort of stories, nostalgic stories, games, situations attached to, you know, particular games. So, as always, I'm going to have to adjust the lighting. Did that make? Oh God, it's made me all. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah. Anyway, so but that'll be coming up. I will do it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to doing it. But realised that I'm becoming less reliable in my old age. There was a time my old art teacher at school, my old A-level art teacher. Actually, it must be GCSEs. I don't think you have parents' evening for A-levels, yeah. But I remember him telling my parents, so it must have been GCSEs. I remember him telling my parents that I was reliable. He's always reliable. That's my greatest quality, my reliability. It's probably more that, you know, I don't tend to sort of, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and then, you know, if I like doing something, I continue to do it. That's more reliable in a slightly sort of skewed sense. But yeah, so now I think I'm becoming less reliable in my old age. You know, which if I haven't got my reliability, what have I got? Rock and roll. So yeah, shit ton of stuff to show. Like I said, hopefully it shouldn't take too long because a lot of it's just oh no, what a good start. I just felt a bit of snot come at my nose. Snotty nose. Yeah, a lot of it. Like this first thing, for instance. Some Gorilla Tape. I think I got conned by Aldi. It was in their central aisle, all bargain, central aisle. And you're thinking, why are you showing me this? Well, I had an idea. You know, I smashed up my... And I've not actually shown you that. I'll have to show you one day. Smashed up my CRT. I think before that, it probably would have been worth £100 because CRT prices are getting pretty mental nowadays, aren't they? Like the Sony ones. Bang & Olufsen seem to be reasonable, which is I find odd. But the Sony ones, or general particular sort of types of CRTs seem to be going for way more than they used to. But yeah, I fucked it up, and I was going to. It's sort of that colour, and I was going to tape it up with a bit of gaffer tape, Gorilla Tape, whatever, and just put some stickers on it. So vaguely relevant because I only use it for my retro games. So yeah, I bet No one else has shown Gorilla Tape or any other tape that other tapes aren't available. No one's shown general gaffer tapes in their videos before, have they? No, but this is a first anyway. And actually, game related. What did I do? I think it's sort of a repercussion of sending all that stuff off to Computer Exchange and getting loads of rejected because it's too scratched, and looking at it, it wasn't that scratched. I think if that's scratched and they're rejecting it, what other chance has my other stuff got? So I was thinking, how can I get it all resurfaced, like sorted out? And I looked into doing it myself, and resurfacers cost way too much. And there are alternative ways of doing it. You know, the sort of the crackpot ideas of toothpaste. Although there is sort of like there is science in the toothpaste idea, but not the way a lot of people use it. Actually, proper idea is using the techniques that resurfacers use, but doing it manually. So, looked into some videos, and actually, let me get. And I'm yet to try it out because I know the first few goes are going to be fucking ridiculous. But the first video I watched, a bloke who genuinely, clearly knew what he was talking about. He used sandpaper and polish, car compound, polishing compound. So I thought I'd try a bit of that. So I bought myself some really, really fine grit sandpaper, and this goes from 2,000 to 3,000 grit sandpaper, which is, it doesn't even feel like sandpaper, it just feels like got a slight sort of, what do you call it, you know, it's sandpaper. And I didn't really, like, the video, the bloke knew the grit rating of his car polish. How the fuck do you find that out? So I looked to see if I could find any equivalent car polish, because I think this guy was in Denmark. And the stuff he used, I couldn't get hold of or couldn't find. So I couldn't use exactly what he used. So I had to do my own research, and I can't find the, sort of the grit rating of all the car polishes or the sort of the equivalent stuff that he used. So in the end, I looked at another video, another bloke who clearly knew what he was talking about, and bought this stuff off of eBay. This was quite expensive, probably more expensive. It's sort of like polishing compound, and it's for polishing plastics. I think generally number 3 is for doesn't get used, and you want to use 1 and 2, and it's just like you use them in order apparently. So it's basically you can sand it and polish it in order. And there was another bloke who had it wasn't even, I think it was just a cordless drill. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh shit! Yeah, he had a cordless drill, and then he had a sort of, you put sandpaper on it, and then a polishing pad, and then just went on his disc, and it looked perfect. So ideally, I'd like that, but I don't know where to get like a polishing pad from, because they all look like dodgy, cheap, nasty knockoffs. The ones sort of you can get on Amazon. So, and I don't want to have to go and get like a proper polishing sort of like car polishing sort of machine. But so yeah, this was about 17 quid, which is the cheapest I could find. It's for what you get. But I did get, you do get a microfiber cloth with it. And the seller sent me some nice little sweeties as well. I'll show you, that's what it is. It's Retro Arcade Specialists. I think they're specifically for sort of doing up polishing, you know, like making your arcade machines look nice. So that's them on eBay. So I won't show you that side because it's got my address on it. So yeah, so that's that. I'll move that out of the way. Right, on to the other stuff. Bit radioactive. Right. A couple of films. That's the one good thing about this video. There's a couple of films, but literally only 3. 3 things that aren't games. So, first one. This is just an upgrade to a DVD that I actually used to have, but I think it ended up getting taken to a charity shop. But I always intended to upgrade it. It's a film called Monsters. It was in a charity shop. It was in a 2 for £1 thing. Love this film. I like how it's particularly topical at the moment, particularly in this country. You have to watch it, and I liked how it sort of confounds your expectations. You think it's going to be this sort of terrifying sort of monster feature, but it sort of is in a sense, but it has other subtexts. It's deeper than that, and I like the fact it was done on such a tiny little budget. But yeah, this was in a charity shop. It was 2 for £1. I took it to the counter, and she was going, "Oh, it's 2 for £1." I was thinking, can't you just charge me 50p? She went, "Oh, it's 2 for £1." I didn't ask her; she just said it. And then I went back, and this is totally worth this. Season 6 of Lost on Blu-ray. So. Yeah, I think I've not seen past season 3 of that season. I hate saying season, series. I try to say series, but every so often I catch myself saying season. And the only other film was this. This is in a charity shop. I think it's about £1. It's not bad. I bought it purely to trade in. Not a massive fan of these two films. I've seen them both. I think one of them I watched. I think the sequel I sort of had on, but it didn't hold my interest, and it was just on in the background. I wasn't really even watching it. I was half watching it. And so, yeah. This is to trade in, and doesn't actually get you that much. You'd think being a 4K Blu-ray, yeah, double pack, it'd be worth a decent amount, but no, it's not. I think particularly when it comes to films, physical media, feels like it's on its way out quicker than games. Because will there ever be 8K physical media? I doubt it. Unless there already is there? There probably already is, isn't there? Yeah. So, yeah, this is a trade. I think it's probably about 5 worth, so it's not that much. 6, maybe? I don't know. I did look it up, but I can't remember. So, I don't know why I'm chucking them down there. I could have put them there, but well. Right, on to the games. Some decent charity shop stuff, actually. It's solid rather than spectacular, but decent, decent stuff. Not like wow, mind blowing. A couple of these, I did have a little jig afterwards. I was sort of like bopping down the road, and as you do, as I explained last time, probably I was happier than they probably deserved. Anyway, but that's not to say they're not crap. They're good. And slightly odd and convenient and weird. They're stories. But anyway, first one, I think this is about £1. I bought it to trade in, and I think if I traded it in straight away, I would have got about £3 or £4. But since then, the value's sort of come right down. I could probably get £1.60 now, having paid £1 for it. It's what's it called? Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. It's a VR game, and yeah. Right, I'll whack that there rather than lobbing it on the floor. So, right, something I've had before. This used to be like a really sort of a regular thing. You could see it fairly regularly, so it's always one to keep an eye out for. And I've not seen this for quite a long time, but it's a PC game, and things with PC games are always a bit dodgy, so there's only a certain few that are worth buying to trade in. This is purely a trader. I've had this in the past and tried to trade it in, and I went, no, it's got to be sealed. And I had to take this. I'm talking about the people in Computer Exchange. I think it's the one in Walthamstow. He goes, no, it's got to be sealed. I didn't want to tell him his job, but I knew that SN meant serial number and S meant sealed. But he was going, and it says SN next to it, so they could take it as long as it's got serial number, and it did have a serial number, and this one's got serial number as well. So it's that Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, the collector's edition. This used to be worth more. I think it's about £22 to sell, and maybe £7 or £8 credit. So it's definitely worth having for £2. The better one is the the add-on thing. It's something the Wrath of the Lich King. That's worth more. I'll probably get you a bit more credit, but they're both worth having. But so yeah, this is purely a trade. This was the Oxfam for $1.99. So this is a bit of a not that interesting really. In the same place I got that Mega Drive game, the Castle of Illusion Quackshot, which is DuckTales Quackshot. This game I saw in there, and sort of it's a PS1 game, and I thought it's not a PS1 game I have, and don't really want it. It was £3. They've sort of adjusted their prices slightly. It's more expensive than that copy of Wu-Tang that I bought. I think that was $150. This is twice the price. And I sort of, do I really want it? No, I just sort of passed, because the case, it's not worth having for the case. It's more the game. And I went home. I thought I'd look at some gameplay, and it actually looks not bad. It looks better than I expected it to. So I thought I could go back and get it. And actually, price-wise, it's actually £3. It's sort of about £6, £7, £8 game. So not massively expensive, but if I was going to ever want a copy, this would be the time to get it, because I knew where there was one. So I thought I wasn't that bothered about it, so I didn't go straight back. And next time I was in there, it hadn't been bought up, so it was still there. And I thought, might as well. And it's a game called Chase the Express for £3. So this is definitely a game I've seen, before. It's just a real cheap. It's not an expensive game. Gameplay-wise, it's probably better than that. But, it's not an expensive game. And it's, like I said, it's about £7 or £8, maybe £6, £7, £8 on eBay. You probably get one for £5 if you're patient. But it looks like it rips off the aesthetic. I don't think it's got the same. I don't know who the developer is. This might be Sony Entertainment, Sony themselves, in-house. I don't know. But it's got a big Metal Gear Solid aesthetic. And it's got a bit of the fixed camera angle. That's the thing, the aesthetic has this Metal Gear Solid with a lot of that, like, almost, I think it might have even sort of used the sound effects, but then it's got this fixed camera angle thing that feels like the Resident Evil games, but then those cameras pan, so they're not purely fixed, but it's quite difficult to explain, but it seems like it rips off the aesthetic of both without. But then the gameplay becomes a bit of a slightly sort of a shitty sort of siphon filter rip off. Basically, you have to infiltrate a runaway train. I think it's been hijacked by terrorists, and it's got nuclear sort of capabilities or something. I don't know. But I haven't played it yet. I just looked into it. It might even have tank controls. I don't know for certain. But I thought it was one worth having. And while I was there, I thought I'll just have a quick look around. And I was looking at the kiddie section, as is always a good idea to do. People who know these things don't discount the kiddie sections. And slightly weirdly, they had a copy. US copy of Demon Souls in with the kiddies DVDs. I don't know why. That's £3.50. So quite expensive for a charity. Not your standard charity shop £1.50 jobby. But obviously it's Demon Souls, and it's it's the American version, but that doesn't bother me. I'm not that bothered when it comes to a lot of games, as long as I can have a copy in English that will be playable on my consoles. So. Yeah, so that was not a bad little sort of haul for one little trip into a charity shop. So yeah, and then what else did they have? They also had, as well as Demon Souls and those two, I had a load of original Xbox games. A lot of them that I discounted that I'd already got or sort of didn't want because again they were £3. Not discounted, not passed on in that sense. He's done it again. He's done it again. I've got to remember that I might as well just sort of change the because it's gone to sleep. The screen goes black, so I can't see what I'm doing. I bet my face panics. So I've got to remember keep wiggling about the mouse, the cursor, so that it doesn't go to sleep. But anyway, what was I on? Yeah, they had a load of original Xbox games, some other random stuff. None of it I particularly wanted. In with the kiddies DVDs, they had a Japanese version of I think it's Armored Core 5, which is a bit weird. Which probably means there might have been some other sort of crazier stuff in the back room. I couldn't see. I did have a sort of sneaky look. I couldn't see that there was anything particularly interesting. But if they've got a copy of Demon's Souls and a Japanese copy of Armored Core 5, it probably would have been worthwhile actually asking. But in the end, I didn't. And I've been back since, and there's fuck all. It's all gone. There's nothing worthwhile having at all. But right, drink. From the same charity shop that I bought, had that decent selection of Blu-rays last time. Again in their little cabinet. I was thinking they're in their little cabinet. They're going to be worth. Sorry, eyelash. I think they're going to be worth, or they're going to be charging probably quite a bit for them. But no, they're £1.50. Oh, bingo. One will probably be a seller, could be a trader. But I think it's worth a lot more than I thought it would be. I looked up on Computer Exchange and it's about a £6 or £7 credit, but then it's really expensive on eBay, and I don't really know why. I don't know if it's like a backwards compatible game, but it's a sealed copy of Lego Lord of the Rings. So sealed, I don't know. They seem to go for quite a lot. I'm not going to. I think they're probably one of those games that if you hang around, you might get one for, £15. But a lot of them seem to go for 30. This is Lego Lord of the Rings, like new ones I'm talking about. So weird. So I think 30 maybe upwards. I'm sure there are a few, but that's probably average around about 20 odd. But I have looked this up to honest. And with it, this is going to be a keeper. Again, it's another one that is good credit, but no. I think this one will be a keeper this time. And it's Sonic Generations, even though it is. Is there a non-greatest hits version of this? I don't know. But yeah, so that was a nice little, again, another decent, small charity shop bundle. Now this one, this one's a bit of a weird one. Actually, in the wrong way round. Shit. One of my favourite charity shops. My favourite. It's the one where I got those Mega Drive games from like a few months ago. The one with the guy who told me he'd been homeless, and I said, I think I actually said that he was a bit weird looking, but what I meant was that it looked like he'd seen a lot of shit. He had sort of like this sort of 1,000-yard stare in that sense when I said he was sort of weird looking. And I found him really interesting to talk to. Like, he'd probably got a lot to tell, but then he started sort of closing up the shop at sort of during the day and then opening it again later on. I've got a feeling he might have pissed off all of his volunteers because after a while he'd have to take time off and there was no one to keep the shop open, as if he'd sort of driven them all away because he was a slightly sort of chippy character. And so in the end he sort of disappeared and they brought a load of new people in and they rejigged the shop. And a lot of the stuff he had on for sale had sort of been moved somewhere, probably been shifted on. And a load of new stuff came in, and for a long time there was nothing worth having. Until I was in there one day, and then it was a book, sort of just inside their store cupboard, storeroom. had the door open. I could sort of like see inside it, and it was right there. And I should have asked them if I could have a look at it, but at the time, I couldn't be bothered to bother them, if that makes sense. I couldn't be bothered to say, "Excuse me, can I have a quick look at that book, please?" And I've been back a couple of times since, and bizarrely, it was still there. It was the sort of thing that I think people would have asked about, but they hadn't done, because it was still there. Eventually, I was sort of going that way. It was in the last charity shop. It was literally my last stop on. I had a little sort of a little charity shop tour around. Been into about 15, 20 or so, and this was literally the last one. I knew it had been there before, and it was, lo and behold, it was still there in the same place, on the end of the shelf, because it was the first shelf facing the door, so you couldn't miss it. And I waited until they had a bit of I had an opportunity to ask them if I could have a look at it, and did. And then the woman goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll get you that." So she got it out, and he goes, "Oh, we've got some more. Would you like to have a look at them?" I was like, "Oh, bingo! What have they got?" So the one I particularly I knew was there, it was on the end of the shelf, was there you go, Final Fantasy X, official strategy guide for $2.75. Although the girl ended up charging me $2.50, I think. I don't think she charged. Yeah, I think. No, $2.70. No, she did charge $2.75. Yeah, $2.75, because this was on the top. So I went in for that, and then the other one. She got me two others, and the other one was, it was a hardback official guide for Final Fantasy 15, which I wasn't interested in. I don't have a PS4, just for starters, or anything that could play Final Fantasy 15. And the other one they had was bingo. This was sort of like weirdly, what's the word? There's weird sort of synchronicity in this, because it's something I've been looking at in another charity shop. It's a Final Fantasy 8. I think I told you about this, and this was £3. But she ended up, I think, because that one was on the top of the pile, she ended up charging me $2.75 for both of them. So they were like $5.50. One thing with this is, there was a copy of this in another charity shop. I have mentioned, I think might have mentioned it in the last one. I bought a copy of the Alundra, this really unofficial, dodgy Alundra guide, and they'd also, at the time, they'd also had a copy of this, but they were charging £12, and I'd looked it up, and £12 was a decent price, but £12 wasn't money I wanted to spend. And then I'd seen it countless times. I'd been in there, and still it was there. And then I went in there one day, and it had gone, and I was like gutted. And I was thinking, oh God. I'd clearly just made my mind up. I'd already made my mind up that I wasn't going to buy it. I wasn't going to pay £12 for it. But it still didn't stop me being disappointed and like thinking, oh, I should have bought that when it had gone, Is that like fear of missing out? So that's the actual demonstration of fear of missing out, I suppose. But yeah. So I was like gutted. And then I was hoping it had just been moved or something, put in the back or whatever, because it had been hanging around. But no, I don't think it had. Someone had ended up buying it, and I was gutted, even though I'd had ample opportunity to buy it. So on my last stop, I got that, and then I got this, and it was, so $2.75. What's that? From 12. Well, probably at least about a quarter of the price, I think, roughly. Don't know. Anyway, yeah. So it's like bingo. So I was like really chuffed. Again, there was a weird sort of synchronicity. Not something I ever see in a charity shop. I end up seeing sort of two inside of sort of a few weeks. You know what I mean? Synchronicity. Anyway, yeah. So I was like bopping down the road afterwards, feeling a bit chuffed. Feeling more chuffed than these really deserved to make me feel. And then I thought I went into Waitrose. There's Waitroses near where I live, so you can probably guess what sort of the area's like. Gentrification, that's what that is. If your area gets a Waitrose, it's sort of you won't be able to afford to live there anymore. But yeah, and I went into Waitrose, and I was thinking I'm going to treat myself, because I was in a good mood. I'm going to treat myself to some beer. and they had some sort of relatively cheap, some stuff I've had before. What was it called? Northern Monk hazy. It's nice actually. I quite like hazy beers. Hazy IPA. Are they IPAs? I think they are IPAs. Yeah. Anyway, I like hazies, and it's not that expensive, and it was like £2.09p, and I took it to the bloke. I got 2 cans, and he ended up charging me £2.63, and I was in such a good mood I didn't even question it. Otherwise, I would have. I didn't question it. I thought, oh fuck it, I'll pay that. But yeah, looking a bit gloomy again. Right, stuff through the post. That's all the charity shop stuff, bar one, which I'll get to in a minute. This is something I had my eye on for ages, mainly through Amazon, but this didn't come from Amazon, or did it? No, it didn't come from Amazon. Something I wanted, it's a controller, I wanted for ages. Because I'm sort of into, it's a wireless controller, you know. Something I wanted for ages, and always really expensive. About, I think through Amazon, it's about 30 quid. So, you know, it'd come down to sort of 27, and can't be bothered to pay that. And then randomly one day I thought I'll check to see how much they are on eBay, and it was 18.49. I thought, I'll have that, because it was, I think, that was a good price at the time, I think. And I think they ended up selling out pretty quickly, so you know it was a good price. I wasn't too sure, but compared to what I'd seen of it, it was a lot less. So I just sort of jumped on it, and it was from a seller called through eBay called Exploit World. I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with them before, because I tried to buy a game from their official website, their dedicated website, which is actually 365 Games. They're the same company apparently. I've tried to get a game for my niece for Christmas, and then ended up having to cancel it because it was getting too close to Christmas, and I think my order status hadn't budged in about 10 days. And they were spinning all this bollocks about, oh, you know, please allow 9 to 12 working days extra for delivery. I thought, what? And in the end, I just had to, I couldn't quite understand what was going on, and I had to cancel it. I couldn't get a response from their customer services, and I cancelled it, bought it through Base, I think, and Base's turned up inside about 3 or 4 days. So what the fuck are 365 stroke Exploit World are doing? Now the thing is, this is came from Exploit World via eBay, and the price was good. I made the order, but then the same thing happened. But then there was no sort of deadline. There was no sort of upcoming deadline like Christmas around, and this is for me, so I didn't mind waiting that much. But still, I had to wait in exactly the same way. And I placed the order, and then the status didn't update for about sort of 10 days, 2 weeks. I had to get into contact with them. I think it might have even been via Twitter. I don't know. No, I think it was through eBay. Eventually got a response, and then they had something to do. Oh, we had to move. Your particular order. It's an item we had to move from our warehouses, so it had to go from one place to another and on to me. It sounded like fishy bullshit. Was that a thing? I don't know, but it was a bit sort of fishy. I think, well, can't you give me an honest answer that don't say it's in stock if it's going to take like 2 weeks more than, I think it ended up taking more than 2 weeks to get to me. And so like, although when I got notification that it had shipped, it did end up turning up inside like a day or so. So there was that, but still, I'll actually show you what I'm talking about. Eventually, I might as well do that now because I think I've finished with my bitching. It's one of these. It's some sort of. It's not really a fancy case. I think they make it out to be a fancier case than it is. It's just sort of a slightly plasticky display case. It's got sort of like a slightly velvety, I think, is it? Sort of like flocked, I think they call that, feeling to make it feel fancier than it actually is. But it's actually really plasticky, and it's a wireless controller for a Mega Drive, and it's got the USB dongle and the wireless receiver that you can stick in your Mega Drive. So it's got multiple uses, and that's what I liked about it. But the thing is, I don't think it's actually that well liked. It's not as well liked as the wired version. So I've already got a wired version. I just fancied a wireless one because I've been rejigging my room, and I wanted a way that I could sit in bed and play my Mega Drive. otherwise I'm sort of like, I can't sit in bed. I have to be a lot closer. Basically, I'm lying belly down on my bed, so I'm just close enough to the screen. This is a way of me being able to sit in bed. Although my actual telly is slightly low, so I can just about see the whole screen, but it's not ideal. But this makes it better. But I think people have problems with with it connecting. You know, it's a bit up and down. So I haven't tried it yet, but it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing, and it was sort of cheaper. And I think, weirdly, the wired version, they're all roughly the same price, whereas this is clearly it's a lot more expensive than the wired version, but not a lot more, but more expensive than the wired version. But I think at the time they had them for the same price. We didn't really get. And although having said that, I think as soon as I ordered this, the price went down by 50p or something. Then I looked on the 365 website, and it was £1 less again. So it would have been £16.99 or something. But then, fuck it. I could send it back and reorder it, but I can't be bothered. But anyway, yeah, it's a nice thing, and I can now sit in bed. As long as it connects, I can sit in bed and play my Mega Drive games, even though the screen's not actually that big, and I'm actually quite far away from the screen if I am sitting in bed. So it doesn't work 100%. But yeah, anyway, I've got it. Yeah, so and they sold out. They sold out really quickly. Actually, I thought not really quickly, but they sold out pretty quickly. So it makes me think that the price was decent. So right, these are all online / eBay purchases, bar the odd one or two, but they're all connected. Again, this is after watching a video by James's Time Warp of Tat, or Retro Time Warp of Tat. He mentioned this, or a version of this game, in one of his favourite games or most played games. I can't remember which video it was, and it just got me like, it's a version of that particular game that I have played countless hours of in the past. Ridiculous sort of amounts of hours. Probably hours-wise, the most of any game I've ever played, because I the PC game, I used to leave the thing on all day and then go and have dinner and it'd still be running, and I just, in the end, it's a full manager game. In the end, I think a lot of the original players who were in the sort of like as the game started, I think I'd played it so long that a lot of them had died. And I wanted my original game back, because I think James was talking about, I think it was Championship Manager 0102, I think. But the one I played the most of that I wanted to play again was 00, sort of 2001. And I wanted a Mac version, and I eventually got the Mac version because it's a lot less common than the PC version. But there's problem with this. I bided my time for ages, and it's not massively expensive. It is more expensive than the PC version. And I waited for a Mac version to turn up, and one day there was a person selling a PC version, and the listing said PC, but the picture said Mac. So I contacted the guy and said, "Excuse me, your picture shows a Mac game. but your listing says PC. Could you just confirm that this is actually the PC version or the Mac version or whatever? And he didn't respond. He just sort of changed the listing to Mac. So he clearly had the Mac version, and it was I think I've written a list of how much I've paid for all this stuff. All of the stuff bar this one. Brilliant. I think it was £6, 6 or 7 quid. So not massively expensive. Brilliant, yeah. Went with that. I then waited. Again, I waited, and he didn't turn up. And then waited for quite a while. I think he didn't even register it as it shit for a long time. It's one of those. I hate those sellers. But eventually it did, and then I waited again, and then I got a letter through the post saying, we've got a package for you, but the seller hasn't put enough postage on it, hasn't paid enough for the postage. So I know exactly what this is. Yeah, it's some sort of slack arse who's just away with the fairies. He was just fucking disorganised. So I could go down to the sorting office. I could have paid for a redelivery, but I couldn't bother. I'd go and collect it myself. Pay £1.50 for to get my parcel, and lo and behold, it was this. So I contacted the seller again, and said, "Excuse me, but I had to go and collect my parcel because you hadn't put enough, hadn't spent enough for the postage." And rather than just apologise and then sort of refund me a bit, he just refunded me and sort of left it at that. I thought, you can at least apologise. You have inconvenienced me, and in the end, I gave him good feedback because I got what I wanted. I got my my purchase. I just thought he was disorganised, and I said, I think my feedback was seller appeared disorganised and was non-communicative, because he could have just said, "Oh, sorry, mate. Here, have £1.50 refund." But he didn't apologise. I like people to apologise to me if I feel wronged. And so, yeah, left it at that. He didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that I'd called him out for being a disorganised arse. He said, you contacted me and I refunded you straight away. That's not what it's about, mate. I left it there. It could have turned into sort of like a big sort of argument, but, at least he didn't even know what he had. He didn't know he had a Mac version. And he clearly didn't know how much it would have cost to ship. So, and also on top of that, something I didn't mention in his feedback, he got it as new, or new, just open. It's not. The case is scuffed. The disc had marks on it. I think the odd scratch, but generally just dirt that I could wipe off. So I didn't question that. So in the end, I thought, three discrepancies there by the guy, but in the end I just left it because I can't be bothered. And yeah, then I got the game and it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Wishful thinking it was going to work. I've got it's a 2013 Mac, but it's running the latest version of OS that it can, and it won't be able to run a newer one. And of course, that version of the Mac OS doesn't. I've forgotten what it needed to be able to run, that it would have meant that it would have run this. And I think it's something like Snow Leopard, which was back in 2006, 07 or something. That was the last version of Mac OS that would have run this game. So, oh well. and I looked into trying to get a way of making it run, but my IT skills aren't up to scratch. In the end, I just sort of bottled it, and from a charity shop, this is the latest one I can get. It's Football Manager 2011. This should run. Yeah, I don't think it will run any later than this, or later. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. think this is the last one before it became, is it DRS? Is that the right DRM? One where it needed, it needed to be sealed for you to use it. So, it's like one use. So, yeah, it should sort of pretty much scratch the same itch. Although with this one, or the PC one specifically, I know all of the best places to get all the best players from. All of there's a few teams, about 3 really, really, really low league teams, like English teams, where you could get like all the sort of best young players from, and then they'd all turn out to be sort of world beaters. Salford, Lancaster and Guiseley. Definitely Lancaster and Guiseley. The other one might be Salford. But obviously it's not going to be the same for this. But, like I said, it should scratch the same itch, even though it doesn't have the same pure nostalgia. But this was a charity shop purchase for £1. So, yeah. And hopefully I'll be able to use it. Right. 46 minutes. Right. PS1 games. I've actually got a few PS1 games here. I've sort of ticked off some, boxes that I've had unticked for quite a while. So I think I've done quite well. This game, it always surprises me because it's a PS1 RPG, but it just seems to have no sort of public profile at all, and so the price is low, even though it's not massively common or uncommon. It sort of just has no public persona, profile, whatever. And so the price is relatively cheap for what is a PS1 RPG, because usually that means that the prices are, you say PS1 RPG or PS1 survival horror, whatever, then that means that they have that sort of has a certain premium purely for that, for that reason. But for some reason this one doesn't. This was, I think this might have been via an offer. This was an eBay seller. I watched their item, and then they sent me an offer, and it was a decent offer. Often it's like 5%, and you get like 30p off. I'm like, what's the fucking point? But this one was a good sort of £2 or £3 or something. So I thought, yeah, that's not bad. And I think the price was okay. As a rule, it's one of those games. Again, one of those games. There's plenty on eBay, but I don't think it sells that often. But because of what it is, sellers tend to ask too much. It's more of a tactical RPG. It's a game called Master of Monsters. I think there's a Mega Drive version of this game, and it's actually in decent nick. The case needs to be buffed up a bit, but as a rule, I think generally there's not really much I can criticise it for. Yeah, it's a tactical RPG, but it's I think the presentation is sort of bargain bucket presentation. That goes against it, so it's looked like a bit of a budget release. I think there's a Mega Drive version of this sort of game, Mega Drive version of this, or it's like an earlier game in this series, it's Genesis only actually, I think, or Genesis Japanese Mega Drive only. Didn't come to the West. Or Power Territories didn't come to Power Territories, but I'm guessing that's probably worth more, But this one, it's hexagonal tactical RPG, so I don't know why sort of hexagonal grid makes it different, but doesn't really offer much variation. But I think generally, but anyway, yeah, it looks decent. I think you pick a character. You pick almost like a general. I think you have your character, and then you have to pick one of 6 sort of avatars, I think. And then you sort of generate soldiers as you fight, and then you can occupy buildings, and then that lets you generate more soldiers to fight with you, or more, and have a whole range of different races and classes and things like that. So as a rule, it's a tactical RPG. So as being an RPG fan, I was always gonna sort of be on my radar. I think it's about 20 quid on Computer Exchange for a boxed one. But yeah, so Master of Monsters. Another game had no profile whatsoever. Never hear anyone talking about this. Never hear anyone talking about this game. This sort of became I was sort of more keen to get this because last time I went to the London Games Market. I would love to go to this one, but I'm still not there yet. I'll go the next time I go to the London Games Market is when people stop catching this fucking virus, because they are still catching it, regardless of how people are acting and what they think and what they're being told. People are still catching it. And to go somewhere like the London Games Market, and I've watched videos of it, and it looked fucking packed. I'm not gonna sort of go anywhere where I have to cram in like this when there's still this shit going on, and there is. Anyway, yeah, this game. Last time I saw it was in the London Games Market. I sort of saw it for a decent price, or what I thought was a decent price. Okay, I didn't really know, to be honest, at the time. It turns out it was a decent price. Saw it. I actually thought, I'll make a mental note of that. I went round. Either it had been sold. There were two. One seller had two copies. Either they'd both been sold, or I couldn't find the seller again because I couldn't find the particular games, and it really irritated me. And then since then, on eBay, I think this is sort of probably about 30, 40 quid. And this is one of those games that you always see in continental sellers, but English sellers just doesn't come up anywhere near as much. It does, fairly regularly, but not so that there's, it's always sort of like drip fed at one or two at a time. So then, there's no competition. So then they can basically charge whatever they like. So the price is always higher than they should be. This was an Amazon purchase. Now I'm checking my notes. This is an Amazon purchase. Momox again. Me and Momox started out. We didn't have a good relationship, but since then I've done all right through them. So they're starting to get back in my good books. 2039, I think, when I saw this game in the London Gaming Market. Sorry for glowing again, getting a bit like Ashes to Ashes. Would that make any difference? Slightly. Anyway, yeah. When I saw it in the London Gaming Market, it was about 20 quid, and I thought that was a good price. I'm sure this is, 20 or 30, 40 pound game, probably based on the fact that those are the prices that sellers tend to ask. Those are the only alternatives. But this turned up for a good price. I think it was 1919 plus 120 postage from Germany, being Momox. Might have even be the Netherlands. I don't know if do you get paid? Do you have to pay import fees if it's coming from Amazon? I don't know, but I didn't. And it's a game called Rising Zan. What's it called? Samurai Gunman. Yeah, it's got this funny. Yeah, wanted one super ultra sexy hero. It's one of those games that's so Japanese that it's just really, really sort of, it's so Japanese that you can't help but like it. Gameplay wise, it reminds me, it's almost like the PS1's version of what the fuck is that game? God Hand. And Jesus Christ, what's that other game? It's God Hand with a bit of Devil May Cry with a bit of. There's a third-person shooter on the PS1. That was another game I bought at the London Gaming Market, and I can't remember what the fuck it is. But anyway, they've got a bit of that in it. But yeah, again, this has no profile. It's the sort of game that, gameplay-wise, maybe it might get overlooked, but it has that real Japanese quality to it that always appeals to people, and means prices sort of reach a sort of certain premium just because of that. But yeah, Rising Zan Samurai Gunman, 20 quid, I think. 20.39 I ended up paying total, but yeah, can't complain. again, that sort of ticked a box I'd had for ages, ever since I saw it in the gaming market. I think it's probably going to be here for at least another 10 minutes. This is going to be another hour and 10 minute job. Fuck, I thought it might be shorter, but I've clearly been waffling for too long. Right, this one, it's the game to Time Boken Yataman on the PS1. Was it Bokan to Epatsu? I think. Really cheap Japanese shooter. I think the price of Time Boken Yataman, it's the later game in this series, it's clearly something to do with the fact that the PAL version of that game is one of the most sort of sought after games on the PAL PS1. It's Italian only, and so it's quite an expensive game now. And I think that somehow fed into the Japanese version. The Japanese version is sort of a lot more than it used to be. You know, a few years ago, not that long ago, I think I paid about 20 quid for mine, and you know, I think it's probably doubled at least. And I think that's probably to do with its reputation, the reputation of the PAL game. It hasn't quite fed into this yet. This was how much was this? This is about 15 quid with 183 postage. So, and they look very similar games. So why would one be that much more than the other one? You know, I don't know. But yeah, and this there you can get. There's a best of version of that one, which I didn't want. I only wanted sort of like the original release version, and it doesn't have the spine card. I'm not insane. I don't have to have spine cards. But yeah. I think this is my second Japanese PS1 game. I think the prices are getting to such a point now that I doubt I'll get a lot of the games I really want, because of, you know, a lot of them aren't sort of reasonable or achievable anymore. But this is one of the ones that still was, and I took my time to get this, and eventually I got one for a decent price. But yeah, what's it called? It's got the Japanese. It's Bokan to Ipatsu. So yeah, I had an eBay search for this for ages, and so that was the only downside. I just noticed. Remember that, just a slight bit of sun damage, sun bleaching on there. That's about it. But apart from that, it's a really good nick. Actually, no, there was one crack on the case somewhere. But apart from that, right. Talking about prices going up, some cheap budget PS2 games. I saw recently, not that long ago, Demolition Girl on the PS2. A game, you know, a couple of years ago, you could get every day brand new for about £5 on Amazon, and that's how much I pay for mine. So out of nowhere, I don't know why, price has gone nuts. Not nuts, but you know, at least 10 times that, or 40 quid maybe, 8 times that. I don't know what that's about, but it's gone a bit. This is a game a few years ago you get for £5. Brand new. I don't get it. You can't really get them in the same way that you could. You can't just go straight to Amazon and get them. So maybe that's one reason why. I think it might have been mentioned on a certain YouTube gamer channel who's very into his hidden gems. You probably know what I mean, you know. And that might have had a result, a result in that meant the price gone up. But I don't really buy into that, really. The fact that, you know, sort of YouTube is going to have that much an effect on prices, but maybe he mentioned it, and then people went straight to the one place where you could get there was a definite supply of them, and that happened to be Amazon UK or Amazon EU, as it was. I think they came from Italy, and they all sold out. Maybe that's why the price has gone up. It now had some sort of reputation, but I don't know. I think it's probably a bit weirder than that. It's probably another reason why it's just they've gone out of stock, they aren't being any more printed, and for some reason the price has gone up. But so because of that, I've been a bit more aware of certain games, and this is why I tried this one. It's sort of, I think it's probably part of some sort of weird little subset, along with along with Demolition Girl. I've got a couple here it's a grubby. It's the grubby subset, I suppose you'd call it. smutty and grubby. You play it and you feel a little bit dirty afterwards. I think I've heard of a lot of YouTube people getting this, and there's a bloke who had a load of copies on eBay, and he had brand new copies, he had brand new UK copies, he had brand new EU copies, and sort of they're exactly the same, bar the seal. One's a UK seal, one's an EU seal, and one of them has the PlayStation port tear strip. I went for the cheap one because the inside of the game is exactly the same, and I was always going to open it, and it's basically paparazzi. So basically, they've turned Pervin into a computer game. Like, basically, that's what Demolition Girl is. So, models will strike poses at your command. Really, who really sort of gets their rocks off to this stuff? I mean, that's one of the reasons why they even exist, isn't it? To appeal to perverts. I mean, I've got it. Not saying I'm a pervert. That pause didn't help my argument. I'm not saying I'm a pervert, but I've got the game. So maybe I doth protest too much. No, oh Jesus, this is taking a dark turn. Anyway, my point is, you can't be one of those people who complains about looking that games have taken out pervy content, like upskirts on near automata, isn't it? Who's into that sort of thing? You can't say you're not a pervert and then complain about that. Anyway, that's a whole new thing. Anyway, yeah, this is a game in the same subset, probably. I don't know how many there are in the subset. I've not really looked into it that much, but this is a game that was on my radar for quite a long time. I don't know why. I even tried to buy on CEX, and then they told me that they couldn't find it and gave me my money back. But I think I bided my time a long time for this, and eventually one turned up that was sort of probably worth how much the games are worth, because this is not a game that anybody should be paying good money for. It's Party Girls. This basically looks like a cross between. It's sort of a cross between Gladiators and Total Wipeout, but with saucy girls. And actually, yeah, it's a British version. I think there's like a sort of a multi-language version, like a French-Italian one. But this is a British version, so it's probably slightly more. This was £5 with postage, so £6.83 or something. So yeah, I've got Demolition Girl, so I've got 3 games in a sort of grubby subset. Grubby, not pervy subset. Right. Oh, fucking hell. Right. All these I've got 3 left. They're all part of the same story, so hopefully it shouldn't take much longer. I'm already over an hour. Apologies, but yeah, computer exchange. There's one particular game. If you've been watching my last few videos, you'll know. You might know. You will. I won't assume. You might know what I'm banging on about. I had a couple of problems with one particular PS2 game. Tried to buy it a few times using credit, and then they sort of were taking the piss. Not consciously taking the piss, but I had to send back the games that they sent me because they weren't what they said they were. Someone on eBay listed basically a manual and sleeve, genuine manual and sleeve for this particular game, like a UK version of this particular game. It's a bit of a hint, UK version of this particular game, and for a really reasonable price, £25. I thought that's a really reasonable price for this game, considering what it is. And I'll show you. It's Silent Hill: Shattered Memories. It's the UK version, English on the front, and it's the BBFC version, and with a UK manual. I swapped out the case because that was knackered, so I didn't have a disc. So that's the case. I went and bought a game in CEX for 50p. And the guy tried to sort of say I couldn't use my card because I wasn't spending enough. And in the end, he was new and he had to go and ask his boss. And the boss went, "Yeah, you can. That's fine." Still wasn't sure. He was a bit like, "No, I'm not sure. I can take that for 50p. I have to go and get cash out just to buy a 50p game." But anyway, yeah. I don't know what game this is. Pull shot clearly, but I got it because I wanted the case. So this is the case pull shot came in. It's a nice one, see, decent. And so then I thought, right, I need a disc. So what's the best way I can get hold of a disc? I've got credit from the Computer Exchange. I'll go back to Computer Exchange, and I'll nab the last one of their Dutch version copies because I think the disc should be identical. I haven't tried it yet. So I'll probably, when I do try it, I'll probably find out it's not totally identical. No, my luck, there's going to be a twist, but there's already another twist. So I paid $24.99 or $95 for the sleeve and manual, which I think is really well priced. There were 2 copies. The first one had already been nabbed before I decided that I was going to go for it. So if I'd hung around, I would have missed out. When things like that, they just pop up so rarely. So, yeah, I went with the Computer Exchange version, and there's a bit of a twist. It turned up sealed. It's Dutch, but it's sealed. So, bit of a twist to the story. So, it's my fuck off. It's my fucking neighbours have just turned up, and he's backing his car up, so he can probably see me, and look, so you can see the reflections on the car. Fucking prick. We're never going to have a. What's the word? An amicable relationship. That way, yeah. So it's turned up. So shall I open it up on camera? Let's open it up. I can open it up. I could sell it on. That's the thing. I could have sold it on, but I'm opening it up now. There you go. So I'm going to swap it out. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take this case. I'm guessing the disc's identical. I'm going to take this case, so I'm going to have a pretty much a sort of identical sort of BBFC UK sort of release. So yeah, there you go. And I'm going to put the Dutch version and the Dutch manual, probably whack on eBay. Don't know, get like 15 quid back. Don't know, whatever. Someone might want it, so now I've got 2 copies, or 1.5 copies. There you go. So yeah, brilliant timing. I thought I'd fucking go. Right, I'm hunkered down behind the computer screen now, so just so they definitely know I'm here. But I'll let you go. Apologies that it's over an hour again. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that that tag response for James. So sometime in the future, I'll go take you out and about. Right, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Cheers. Bye.